Can say Drola Benji Sanje Druva Jo Sanje Tila Joji Jana La Janju Padu Tani Jet Dagui Chijin Jive Sona Je Dunga Druva Jo La Dan La Meme Tamyan Ji Ombo Dan Jejin La So Choji Chola Java Java Sanje Sumbara Du Shin Teve Juru Juba Jeta Chije Tempe Chinye Dini Diri Shiye Shiye Teve Jejin Diri Jesa Vete Ju Tinjin Shabatella Cholu Tajango Yendi La Benja Sanjatusa made Ambitani Levatu La Tubesun Namo La Yugatanu Danishanga to Bunda Damiagan and the Drovakunjana Chisa Watamja Kaido Dagi Chedon Dos Oyada Anita Luduki Penguin Power Luduki Karan Chidana Teba in La Chila. Duma Rangi Chavada. 先期财产一个钱，准备把你多个的，去年电竞这我穷，电竞这我抗议把天天当把你做些，我让先去的话，也没出去生个渣，家里我打算送人吧的，是吧？我一让他其他那个我那么得罪太了，安尼他他说的打嘞。 치료베지 아니 당전라 소와게 아니 달래 제와 쳐봐다니라 동아랑 그 쳐봐다 데네호 란주바 연제기 men제기 아니 현래 란전지 뒤에 줄에 제와돼 봐다는 현래 제와돼 해다 아니 이거를 제와다 아니 장주 가서래 장변그 뒤면에 제와라 소와돼也真是这个现在了，东岸上给钱话，在先期钱他应该去准备把你多给的。那他就我让给路了，那我看着啥呢？去你电竞这我穷，电竞这我穷啊，啊你他让把钱呢，啊你就进来电穷啊，差我钱呢，啊你我让谢谢，啊你谢谢。 来电来出包，接下来电来出包。安那民藏大约咱们是一个了，东岸上给钱话的，先期钱的，你个钱对面把你不把就去年电竞这话穷，电竞就话抗议吧是一个了，电这抗议吧的，俺那让先去当吧。 就现在在那地方，下线了对吧？下线了，对吧？人家下线了，然后来吧。 아니 규전 현라 라라 바이다 아니 규전 현라 라 말레 바다 차시 현라 아니 라 말레 바에 동바인바데 땡진 저와 강인 바 테니 동바니 시시 에 동바니 두시 옹오는 아니 라신지 동바니 아니 좀 된데게 야미 취지 생기다 전에 손에 바래 좀 된데게 아니다 친나난 그오 탐제 아니 라신지 동바기 아니 다다바 What is it?
So now then, yes, as it says in the praise to that which is transcendental by the Master Nagarjuna, he says in a couple of verses from that text that various philosophers posit that things arise from self, that they arise from other, that they arise from both, or they arise without cause. But that's not the case. That is, that things don't arise in any of those four ways. Whether one's talking about internal phenomena that have to do with the person, or the external phenomena that are the environment, the other beings in the world, and so forth, no thing whatsoever in the universe arises in any of those four ways. So there's a school of philosophy called the Samkhya that advocates the idea that things arise from self, from a cause which is identical with the effect in a sense. And then there's other schools of philosophy, such as the Buddhist realists, such as the Swatantrikas and the other Buddhist philosophers, tend to advocate that there's some kind of real other thing apart from the thing that gives rise to it, and so that inner and outer phenomena arise from some kind of real, objectively findable, to some extent anyway, objectively findable cause, the cause and conditions that give rise to them, that these exist in some kind of objectively findable way. Then there's other schools of philosophy that say that some kind of combination of the two, that there's, in a sense, that one can say that things arise from self and they also arise from other, real other. And then there's also schools of philosophy such as the non-Buddhist Lokayata school that says that things arise without any cause. Especially things like events within our lives, like experience doesn't arise from some karma, but rather just arises kind of automatically or naturally. So all of these views are erroneous. And Master Nagarjuna says that instead he's addressing the Buddha here, you taught dependent origination in the sense of emptiness, and emptiness in the sense of dependent origination. That is, that the fact that things arise necessarily means that they originate in dependence upon their own specific causes and conditions. But that very fact that they arise from causes and conditions entails likewise that they're empty of any kind of intrinsic character or any kind of autonomous nature that we falsely ascribe to them. And so Master Nagarjuna is then praising the Buddha as the teacher of this, the integration of dependent origination and emptiness, in that the fact that things arise entails that they're empty, and the fact that they're empty entails that they're dependently originated. The two are mutually implicate each other. And so, 준칙도 된저 통바 준칙도 송바
가세로 되네 된지 전지 재단 네가 이제 좀 많이 더 거지 아니 가서我让是启动吧된지 동비텐도 된진저와 좀 된진데 동비텐도写받대
So that the fact that things arise from causes and conditions, that we can observe that. So the fact that we can observe that things arise from specific causes and conditions necessarily entails that they're empty. That is, that they're devoid of an autonomous or intrinsic character that would make them such that they wouldn't depend upon things that are extrinsic to themselves, outside of themselves. They wouldn't depend upon their causes and conditions that give rise to them. So that dependent origination then has the sense of emptiness. This
等于这个情况可能是等于这个情况的等于举前线了，然后来把我们切线线了，对吧？我们切线了，然后来把印章，啊，你切线了，然后马来把给动吧，举前线了，然后马来把动吧印章，等于这个情况个听你动吧，你都写。
So thus he says that dependent origination we explain as emptiness, meaning that the fact that things arise from causes and conditions, that's a basic level of dependent origination, the causality aspect of it. Or one can also look at dependent origination as things existing based upon their bases of designations, which are complexes of various parts. And the fact that a thing depends upon its basis of designation for its existence also entails that it's dependently originated, that arising, the existence of the thing is dependent upon the parts, that the collection of the parts that it's designated upon. And so that aspect of dependent origination is another subtler way of looking at it. And in either case, we say that dependent origination, we give that the name emptiness.
我不让心记住吧，你们去记生给啥是干啦？俺你去的那个我他们家让心记，俺你当把的，俺你开发艺术，俺你年把没把等把去开发艺术，俺你生给啥找把那心钱呢？俺你等把这吧，对吧
？So the teacher then is like a lion. And this sound of dependent origination in the sense of emptiness is his roar. He proclaims that, and just like the lion is not frightened of any other inferior animals within the jungle, so the teacher here is not affected by any of these inferior views, which view things as in the way that were discussed in those four alternatives.
Oh yeah, and that day, listening because then the debate so soon 대지랑신 남자시 생기자의 양양도开外 수도 내동바 내라수의 공부는 세다 뒤튼다되지 대 가서를 땡지 뒤에 나라송아래 치다나고 오 탐제 안에 장신지 동바모 아래 장신지 주에 주와단 차와게 오면 장신지 동바데 오다 가서를 개의수 dembayinza teji rangshin namdaji singri drayi yangyangdo kaiwe tsudu le demba kaiwe yusi leba demba ane kaase singri drayi kaiwe tsudu tela suyi gongba nisi tela ane demba zeba la tela suyi gongba de ane meba minibare.
So that's it's like similarly the same thing is stated in the Lekshe Nyingbo, which is the praise of dependent origination. And that in that praise of dependent origination, J. Rinpoche says that this la
대지 랑신 남자시 땡중 인비 준생지 현라라 레밤 현라제 주현 되어가기 땡중 인비 준생지 안에 랑신지 주에 넘버 차대 랑신지 주에 넘버 차와대 랑신지 주에 동바 봐 안에 생기 드라이 양양도 개외 추출래 동바
So then, so in there, J. Rinpoche says that this natural purity of things, that is, all phenomena are pure by nature in the sense that they don't possess that intrinsic existence which we falsely ascribe to them, that sense of autonomy that we falsely ascribe to them. They're naturally pure, and that entails then that they're dependent originations. And the two are equivalent in that sense. So then that lion's roar of dependent origination in the sense of this natural purity of things, their absence of intrinsic existence, is something that the Lord Buddha has properly instructed for those who are wise.
Oh yeah, that tender in that tender in it. 라신지 동장 아니 당비 쇼들을 가를 루와래 저는 다 가서 당고 쇼나 신이잖니 다유 민잠전지 류와이다 다유 민잠전지 류와 나한테 뭐 쇼이다 라신지 쇼도 다유 민잠전지 류와지 인자 당고인데 아니 제가我也没有解把让人先是也没得他们这送就样把银色青山的有时候太阳打让些就当我们那样让些就叮当呢那让些就当白带来没把门着啊就在我们那些钱呢是吧他的这军队呢中央没进就把没怕白等把修呢吃了没把套啊就钱呢아니 다 라시지면은 메고 그래 대단하 안에 밥이 담아시 메고 그랬잖니 아니 주다 오마기야 송거와 대나시 텐데 많이 봐 라시지면은 아니 가서래 아니 탄예도 여봐 좋투에 민양 다여점도 요주 저봐 좋아야 되라 요주양 민잠 다잠도 여봐 침발钱에 민게 다바점도 여봐 침발钱에 아니 줘봐 인생
So thus, here then, one wants to know that then how is it that things exist? They're empty of any intrinsic existence. Lord Buddha has proclaimed that as his lion's roar, meaning that dependent origination means that things are empty of intrinsic existence. But the other schools of philosophy, they think that if things don't have some kind of essence, if a thing doesn't have a findable essence or some kind of intrinsic nature, some kind of intrinsic autonomous character, then they have no way to establish them, things existing in any way at all. And then they're left with the only alternative being that things are completely non-existent if they don't possess some kind of objectively established intrinsic character. Now, here then, those views are mistaken. So the correct view is that once one has eliminated entirely all of the intrinsic existence from things, and one has determined that they don't possess that kind of autonomous character that we ignorantly, falsely ascribe to them, then all that is left for them to exist is as mere names, mere designations, or one could say that they're conventionally existent. They exist conventionally and as mere names and mere nominally existent or as mere designations. And so we have to be satisfied with that, that they're simply established or can only be established conventionally as conventionally existent in the sense of being mere names or nominally existent or mere designations.
Oh, yeah. 다 민점이 가서래 첨바전에 조단데 루루기 수중오 민점지 나가야니 민점모 세가나 아니 수데 민게 다바점래 타니 민장 또바 다바점 많이 다바점지 많이 봐 또바 다바점 아란지배 조거래 조거와 현장 민지 그 파파 샤바점 민장점 샤바 민장점이 샤바야 민게 파르 샤바점 샤 민장실 나가야니 민장모 나가 태양 아니 나가 차차 초발라 때네 아니 민게 파르 샤바점 아니 민장점이 샤바이 아니 나가야니 민장모 예수비 칠 대나 파바야세지 따와 차차 첨보 고된 타투바니 따따의 민장 다의 민장 시와디 인베 다의 민장 친당왕이 오고자는 그 민게 파 다바점당 아니 민장 점지 샤반디 인베 대사와 시나 송아
So thus, that being the case, that things are we can only posit them by being satisfied that they exist as mere names, merely nominally existent, as mere designations. And this is explained based upon or in agreement with the statement of the Supreme Arya Nagarjuna Pada, and he says that physical things are mere names. Space as well is a mere name. So what that means is that a physical thing is when we identify it, we ascribe a name to it, And that mere name is how it exists. But if we try to find that identity within the thing which is so designated by that name, then it's not findable in any way whatsoever. That entails necessarily that name is simply ascribed to the object, but it's not something that is findable within the object. And this is what differentiates the Prasangika view from the Swatantrika and other views, especially Swatantrika, where the Swatantrikas hold that, yes, things are merely established nominally, but they say that that nominal establishment nevertheless has to be done based on some kind of findable identifiability within the object which is so designated. So there's a big difference between the Swatantrika position and the Prasangika position here, which the Prasangika position, again, holding that this merely nominal existence of things necessarily entails that there's no, that one can't find that identity within the thing which is so identified, the basis of designation upon which that identity is ascribed. So that's being the case. So just that physical things are mere names, and then likewise space as well as a mere name. That means that space also is, we designate something as space based upon a collection of parts which are space, and then on that we ascribe the identity or name, mere name space. And this is the ultimate meaning of Mahamudra, the view of Mahamudra, which is held by the Arya together with his spiritual disciples, his spiritual followers. What that means, if one is going to explain this clearly, what it means to be merely nominally existent or a mere name, then this is explained subsequently. This is on page 104 of the Tibetan of the auto commentary, and commenting on verse 44.
Oh yeah, that condition was an adela. Benda Kambakawa Shiwashi Nana, Kambakawa Shi Yombachi Nana, Nana, Ani Kawa Yobani Dokugres. Da Kawa Shila Jesu Dog, Chi Kawachi Yobati Dokugres. Tena Kawashi, Teo Kawata Karesana, and a Kawashi Yoba in Zang. Kawashi Yoba in that Tinana, Kawashi Tamjala Jesu Dog, Chi Kawachi Goyo Kokures. Ti Kawatene, Kawashi Sosoki Jesu Drovi, Chires. Kawate, Kawashiga Chigala Jesu Dog, Chi. Now, and Tena, oh, Ginos, Tena Kawachi Ti, Tenshi Shitana. Nida Kawa Shigala Jesu Drongengi, and the Kawa de Kayo is na, and Shoshikawa de Mai. Shoshikawa de Kawa Tamjel Jesus of China, Kawa Shiga Jesu Drovina, and the Chajikawa de Nugikawa Jesu Dogo, Nujikawa the Chajikawa Jesu Dogo, Yoa Inza. She would in a Kawa de Tenshi Miron, Tichide. She would the Tobayang. Ti Senshime. She was Tobayan Ti Senshime. She was so around Toba Zamle, Tenjabagi, Ti Senshi, then you are married. Yeah.
So, an example to illustrate this is if we have a building which has 4 pillars within it, then necessarily there has to be a pillar has to exist within. We have to accept that pillar in general exists within that building because there are 4 pillars in the building. That's clearly the case. However, that pillar here we're talking about pillar in general or pillar as a universal. Necessarily has to be connected to each of the individual 4 pillars that are found in that building. However, if you say, if you then say, well, if you search for the illustration of the, it's here called object universal of that pillar, Then, and if you're searching for that, this is what this object universal term means is that each of the individual pillars has its identity as a pillar because it's an instance of the general or universal pillar. So here then, if one searches for that universal, which is necessarily connected with each of the individual four pillars, then if one looks for that, then and you're looking for an illustration of that universal within the individual pillars that make up the four pillars of the building, then when one looks for them, one finds that each of the individual pillars is not suitable as an illustration for that object universal. The reason for this is that the pillar that's found in the east is not identical with the pillar that's found in the west, and therefore it's not suitable to illustrate the universal object universal pillar because the pillar in the west is different from the pillar in the east. So each of them individually is not suitable to serve as an illustration of that object universal. And then likewise, the collection of the four pillars together is not suitable as an object universal, suitable as an illustration of the object universal, the pillar in general. And so if one looks at the individual four pillars or even the mere collection of those pillars, within that building, one doesn't find that object universal anywhere within the individual pillars or the four pillars collectively.
Yes, sir.
So also likewise, if you have the collection of the four pillars together, there's no within that building, there's no place that one can identify the object universal of pillar apart from the collection of those four pillars that are found in the building.
Oh yeah, this is one. There was a 错咱们的前途就业提前期登记要嘛的。但我呢，搞我是几张把的，搞我修面呢，搞我修的面呢，搞我几天没过的吧？因此他搞我修的这上头搞我几天上没过因张，搞我修的也没人，我天南提那个搞我这几天呢是搞我几张把的，搞我这几张把的，搞我修的顶度，安尼。搞我写顶度是搞我写每个大字，搞我写每个大字每张字头。
So that being the case, since there's no way to illustrate the pillar by you can't find the object universal pillar within the individual four pillars or in their collection, then when one looks for the object universal of the pillar, which is those pillars that are within that building there, then one has to say that the pillar as such, here this is referring to the object universal or the general category of pillar, is something that is a mere nominal designation which is placed upon the four pillars that are found in that building.
每个大针提成呢，安尼他搞我前里做把马多吧，安尼搞我媳妇错别顶头，搞我媳妇热当，安尼搞我媳妇错把当，看样安尼搞我媳妇几点把你明白。大约民将写下的，是大约民将写下的，大家去他们这里崇拜的。
So thus, except for being able to posit these things as pillars by being satisfied by that their existence, the being pillars, being simply a nominal designation, designation that occurs through the force of language or giving them that name. There's no way to posit them as pillars in any way such whatsoever. So and then if one searches the pillars either individually or collectively for that property of being the object universal pillar, and because one cannot find that within the actual pillars individually or collectively, therefore they're said to be simply nominally existent and mere names, and that all phenomena are similar to or exist in the same way or similar to that.
Oh yeah, that day. 순단데 되는 순도와 어때 대인상 가와 지점바데 다 민장 다 민장 다요점도 만도 아니 다 초비티는 매봐 어때 순나나 신데 아니 다 내마이바 부다빨리데 나라 로변 산제 장그 부다빨리데 나라 아니 되는 순야 산수 와 빼나 사간지게 나라 아니 미니 친이 스미지 상관적인 나네 안에 사대라 아니 가서래 지숨 토바데 아니 스미지 포디 잡주레스 콜로 토바데 아니 완주 첨보레스 야 미션지기 아니 콜로 토바데 아니 스미지 포디레스 가서 참주레스 지숨 토바데 주보레스 권인이 잡아 주면 되나 저바 주면 되나 아니 미션지를 지지 잠바 미션 되게 아니 지숨 토바데 아니 가서를 완주 첨보레 아니 콜로 토바데 참주레시 라서나 아니 되는 내 텐든도 좋아다 코란이기야 토바 쳐와 와 토바 쳐와 내자도 가나 지숨 토바데 지숨 토바게 아니 사 리모이나야 데 수년데 사 안주레스 심먹어와 지숨 토바 코랑 데 완주 첨보레 콜로 토바데 참주레 시리가나 지디가나 군인의 내 텐트도 좋아데 명잠지단에 샤비다 디수하래 고서
미니티 당포
미니 예 미니가 지게 아니 지숨 토바데 대 가소래 참주레스 아니 콜로토와데 아니 테레스 안주레스 지게 되니 도네 아니 가서래 너무 도네 찌니 지게야 콜로토와데 테레스 미 참주레스 지순 토바데 아니 안주레스 저바 춘디 간라 아니 미션지게 아니 렌제도 간라 지순 토바데 완주레 아니 콜로 토바데 참조와 세메지 부레스나 렌텐티 도그레스 와 그 저바 자사데 가르파게데 디 한주기 수년당 아니 심피 수년 군다테라스기 어와 군다테 잡주다 한주 말어와 말와 대승으로 뭐이나 명점지 고랜 텐트도 들어와당 아니 코랑기 아니 랜드 텐트도 들어와당 랜드 텐트 걸 타냐데 안에 참아두고 알았어.
So now another example to illustrate how this works is found in the commentary of Master Buddhapalita. Master Buddhapalita, his exposition of the basic wisdom of Master Nagarjuna. In that he gives a story. Sangekyang. He gives a story, and his commentary is just identified by his name. Buddhapalita is given that commentary is given that name after the author, and so in this story he recounts. Or to illustrate the way things are merely nominally existent or exist as mere names, he says that he gives a story of two people went into a temple, and they saw two images that were in the temple, two statues, and one of them said, "Oh, that one that's holding the wheel, that's Maheshvara," and or Shiva is another name for him, Maheshvara. And then the other one, and then he said, and then that first man said, and that one that's holding the trident there, that's Vishnu, that's Narayana, and another name for Vishnu. And so then the other man said, no, that's not the case. The one that's holding the trident, that's Maheshvara, and the one that's holding the wheel is Narayana. So they argued about this for some time, and then someone else came in who was authoritative on this subject, and he dispelled their confusion by saying, no, actually the second man is correct, that the statue or the being that's holding the trident is Maheshvara, whereas the being holding the chakra, the wheel, is Vishnu, Narayana, and so because he was an authority, he was able to determine what the correct designation for these two statues or these two beings were. But when one thinks about this, they're not those statues were not the actual Maheshvara or Narayana, Shiva or Vishnu. Rather, they're just representations of those gods, and then so those names which were ascribed to them were merely conventionally labeled upon those, or conventionally designated based upon those representations.
Oh yeah, that did to so yeah. The make da dan ro, the make da zam do, or then so on as it. Because say to bo udan cha go xie, me da jin jie wa chuo zam la, pa da nian me ba rang ne, an chu cha wa kan de dance. Gu din zo la, kan la, oh say to bo ji la. 아니 사이 tumbo시 파가 소년 해와잖아 아니 우당 사이 tum보 우당 차고 사이 tum보치 가시라 구 디차레 디 우레 오셰데 팔 민게 따바자 마도 아니 랑은에 우당 아니 제 우당 tum보 맞추바.
So those images then, if one examines them, one can see that they have heads and they have feet. And then they have all of the hands and all of the different parts that make up the bodies, and so the identity that is given to those as Narayana or Maheshvara those are just names which are then ascribed to those statues, those representations of the gods. And that necessarily means then that those identities, the names, are just mere names, which are attributed to this collection of parts, but that the names don't arise. They're not coming out of the objects themselves. They're simply identities that are ascribed to the objects that are so identified.
말에도 멤버 매나야 아니 민게 따잠되라 아니 따잠두라 아니 가서래 대다 아니 가서 되라 아니 자서를 차차와당 쳐버푸와라 써왔기 아니 그와 주배.
So though it's the case then that in the case of these
대다 인장 초비 땡중라 어 대다 인장 초비 땡중에 레소놈 소비 신주디 레소놈 소바기 아니 신도 좋아.
So those statues are really the objects themselves are a collection of parts, and then the names that are ascribed to them are just conventionally attributed to them. Nevertheless, that those names and the identities that are attributed to them still have this ability to function. They're not, they don't arise out of the objects. They're merely ascribed to the objects. But nevertheless, those names have conventional reality. They exist and they're functional in that they serve as objects that can be revered. One can do prostrations to them, make offerings to them, and by doing that, one can accumulate merit by that practice.
Oh yeah, 레서는 소비 신조 시주의 꽤 창백建소바 강제 신도라 아니 가서래 자와 진이 완벽히 아니 다테나신 강바다 신다다 아니 지난 거 강나 강 있나야 아니 민담 다담 되라 아니 되게 아니 라랑 그 저와 년도 요 말이스.
So just like that, this fact that although those are just names, mere names, merely nominally existent, and nevertheless, they are able to function in all sorts of relationships. One can, in the case of those images and the identities that are ascribed to them, one can do prostrations, one can make offerings to them, and develop merit by doing that. And so that they even though they're merely nominally existent, they don't have that objective, autonomous sort of existence that we falsely ascribe to them. Nevertheless, they're functional within those kinds of relationships that operate actually in the world. And similarly, that applies to other things like houses and carts and all the other kinds of phenomena that are found in the universe.
Oh yeah, that's my doing that. 단이 사지 도반 뒤에 송아. 들어서 루디당 제비 nga지 이거 거 봐서 가시 루디당 탄주 루단 제비 소시 아니 소시 제비 시와 탐제出现 봐.是吧? 디 진짜지 소지 로라 나와 강샤 탐제 랑신지 주와 나신 차르 세신도 소지 로라 소지 로라 강나와 강샤와 탐제 랑신지 주와 나시 차스 랍신도 다디 난준 딜레 셴비 가시 난주 셴바치 마란존라 타마와라 난주 딜레 셴바기 셴비 가시 난주 딘주 랑롱아시 zemba deba ni ranja soji lola nawa ta madub se manubar anti nawa ta madub se manube nombare yeah
So here then there's a question that needs to be resolved and clarified. And it's given in the self-commentary to the root text. Again, it says that there some people who lay out the words that are connected, the words which require contextualization, that are connected with this system, meaning the prasangika system. Some of those people say something like as follows. They say that all the awarenesses of ordinary beings are erroneous awarenesses, and because of that, everything that appears within the cognitions of ordinary beings is all necessarily appears as if it's established by means of its own intrinsic nature. It appears that way and arises to them in that way. So they say that, and then at the same time they say while they're saying that, these people who have misconstrued some of the terms and statements within the prasangika system, they say that they hold on to a kind of packed herd of things being real, which appears as the object of negation other than that, which is other than this way that things appear to us naively, as if things appear to us, to our naive awarenesses, as if they were real, existing by means of their own autonomous character. So they say that they hold on to this sort of packed-in herd of ideas about things being real, which and holding that that's the way that the object of negation appears, but in ways that are other than the way things appear to us right now, to our sort of ordinary or naive perceptions. And so they say that those beings or those persons make a big mistake because they're not able to say that the appearances, those things that appear to the cognitions of we ordinary people, they're not able to say how it is that they're not, that they don't exist, or they're not, one cannot establish them as they appear. They're not able to do that.
Dobani, Ranja Soji Lola Nawa the Madu se manubare, Tadi Carre, Sana, Sojela Lola, Ranja Nawa the Madu se manuba, Taranji Bagi, Soji Lola Ranja Nawa the troop cigarwa. Oh, Tusunguari. Soji Lola Ranja Nawa the troops. Tobadan Domeji Tama Khan Jang, Tamara Somasa, Nayuda, Shen Ranzan, Mandu, what you go, Jenny, Leshana, Leshanabon, Sumbana, Jenny. Or Soji Lola Ranzan now the Tuko, Randibeki, either than the now the Madu number 2, Tadana, Ranjubek, Kawa Namji. So limela na you want to judge Shevala. Ota, Suso Nemela na wanga Sokara, Neme Shewani, Ranzanawala, Lo Neme Shewani, Ranzanawala, Namichala Matu, Lotela, Lo Neme Sikawari. Yenda China Nagu Church of the Lo Neme now wanga Shaba Yinta, Chinago Church of the Ranjan to a Shashi Shewari. They isn't the Disungo Ranjuba Namikawa Namji, Suso Nemela now Yoba Shachi Shevala. And Pandanda we Kabachita, Jebi, 2 levels some she. Kava Tavaki, Ranjibu, Ranja Shashi, what a kaki or
no. No, because Nomba Cheba di Rancha Sokelo Nawa Tarma Dupsa.
Ranja Suji Lola Nawa the Madu Semani said the Carre Sana, Soso Jibi Lola Ranzan Nawa the Madu Seva the Semani back Nombare. The Kanye said Ranju Baggy, and Toba the Tommy Sama Kanye, that Sama Sonsa, Nayudan, Shayu Ranzan, Manduba to go. Manduba. Lo neme singa de kandi chu ko re sana chidana gu chetan je lo neme la ma sha sa lo neme de na yu ran zan la ma tu ba da xie yu ran zan la ma tu bi lo chi sha go ba re yin da na yu ran zan na wa ta chu ya re ma yin da de lo neme wang sha ji xie ba la ane ban dan da yu ga ba chi da ze bi te ane sa ma dong ko re ma ti ma chung re.
So this mistake arises because here the masters of the Swatantrika position hold that that physical things, etc. I should say the masters of the Swatantrika tradition, they say that, or they present the position that that physical things, etc., are established by the force of their appearing to an unvitiated cognition. What this means is that when, according to their position, their interpretation, they would say that when things appear to ordinary people, in the case of perception, like our visual perception of physical things and so forth, that the object that is appearing to that perception is necessarily established by means of its own intrinsic identity. It has a degree to which it is established by means of its own intrinsic nature. Now, it's not the case that mode of existence of these objects are ultimately established or ultimately existent. Rather, they nevertheless they necessarily have to be established by the force of appearing to a cognition which is not vitiated by some kind of error, some sort of error. However, even those sorts of cognitions are nevertheless erroneous with respect to the object that they apprehend, because the object they apprehend, as they apprehend it, is compromised by the misapprehension of things as being ultimately existent. And so there's that kind of subtle distinction that the Swatantrika masters are making in terms of objects as they appear to us. On the one hand, we have to be able to establish them objectively to a certain degree. That is, there has to be some kind of objective foundation for our perceptions and so forth. But they also recognize that that within our ordinary person's perceptions, There's and in other cognitions as well. There's a degree to which there's the confusion caused by ignorance creates error within that cognition. But in any case, the Swatantrikas hold a position like that, and then the Master Chandrakirti he refutes that position. So here the author is saying one should very carefully properly think about the way in which the splendid Chandra has rejected that position which is posited by the Swatantrikas.
Oh yeah. That in here, Tudong washing alas, the right to the talk, society washing ala. You are Tudu, Madu Hindu. 다 추도금 랑자지 마주 신도 아니 추도 주와 나와 예장 소수지 왕시 주시체 그봐 주시장 아니 주시장 용어 랑자지 주와 나위 차라 주시 예장 용어 랑자지 주와 나위 차라 사마리 와 니난지 제와 있는 랑그 나와라 참아인 배차고 단주르라 와 랑그 나와라 참아인 배 참아인 고고 말이 다디 정거라 나와 또 배차고 말이 인자 디송해라 추동고 왕신안을 아시를 용어 추도도 마주신도 추도도 주와 나외 추시당 용어 란잔지 주와 나외 차라 참아탕 디균전지 아니 대다 탄협이죠 단단다 탄협이 참아 줘봐서 니시에 거서 다 추동고 왕신하고 아니 탄협 가서 탄협이 참아인 이와 탄협이 참아인 간소래 나위처럼 란자도 나와라 참아인 버전제 참아인 버 미쳐체 들어와다
나와라 참아인배 참아인배 미쳐봐
근데 이 용아 란자도 나위처럼 참아탕 용아 니가라 참아인 버 니가체 와 수동기 왕생하고디 용아 란자도 나위처럼 참아탕 용아라 참아 니가체 와 니인배 뒤균전지 대다 아니 탄야지 탄야지 조비 참아 줘봐서 탄야지 여봐 줘비 참아 줘봐서 시고 그래
랑친을 나위 차라 제마 임바디
랑게 나와라 참아라 아니 로시된 줄 랑게 나와라 참아래 와 나와라 참아 이제 진당 유라 참아 많이 봐 참아 있는 진당 유라 참아 있고
제마 임바
참아라 진당 유라 참아 거 봐. 유지 쪼라 밀루를 봐 임바. 알아 마서.
디 니마송게.
아니.
디카자 유 랑친을 나위 차라 제마
란자 나위 된들라 디순주가 용아 란자 나위 란자는 추바 나위 차라 참아탕 나위 차라 참아인 용아라 참아인 탄협이 왕생하고 때 니가 있어
디하고마송
근데
디 란친을 나위 차라 제마 이나
나와도 쓰고 란자도 추바 나위 나와 줘라 란자 쓰고 말다 란자 추바 나위 나와텔라 사마레스 거래 나와텔라 사마레스 란자를 사마레스 거 말해 란자.
So then, however, with respect to the way in which the five objects appear to the sensory perception of ordinary persons, that is, persons who are only have sort of awareness of the things of everyday life, of our everyday experience, these appear to us as if they were self-sufficient. That is, the objects of visible forms, sound, smells, taste, tactile objects, and those things appear to us as if they were established with a kind of self-sufficiency, even though they don't possess the kind of self-sufficiency that they appear as having. And therefore, these sensory awarenesses are called erroneous awareness. They're erroneous in the sense that they're not apprehending the actual way that the things exist, the sense objects actually exist. but they're not entirely perverse forms of knowledge or perverse awarenesses, in that they're actually apprehending objects that do exist. It's just that they're erroneous insofar as they're apprehending them existing in a way that they don't exist. But as far as the basic appearance of the sensory object is concerned, then that sensory awareness is valid cognition with respect to that appearance. That's the first point. And then sensory awarenesses then are valid cognitions with respect to the appearing aspect of things that appear as if they were established by means of their own intrinsic identity. Again, that's saying that here things appear like a sensory object, like a visible form, appears to us as if it was established by means of its own intrinsic identity, that it had that kind of autonomous self-sufficiency that appears to us in our kind of naive, ordinary way of looking at the world. So as far as that sensory awareness is valid cognition just to the thing as an appearance, although it is erroneous, it's mistaken as far as how that sensory object actually exists in terms of it not possessing the kind of intrinsic identity that appears to us. So that being the case, therefore, in the prasangika system, by means of that kind of reasoning, or by that reasoning, it says that sensory awarenesses are established as So those sensory awarenesses are what enables us to establish things conventionally as far as sense objects are concerned, and they are valid cognitions for establishing things conventionally in that way. And so the commentary there says that one needs to understand this in order to be able to differentiate the arguments that are being made by the Swatantrikas and the critique of them that is presented by Master Chandrakirti.
양 mambo시 가사 미고 가사 된주고 전이 아니 좀 된지 일단 루루라서 와기 가사 미고 가사 된주고 봐 송냠도 아니 냠샤도 냠샤기 생활라 가사 링링보지 가사 여봐 샤네 아니 뢰제지 가사 된주시 랑기 아니 그뢰 쇠비 가사 된주시 고병아와 제반이 침미되대 다들 주위치로 다들 주다 가나에서나 냠샤기 뭐 가사여나 아니 가사 된주려 그래 냠샤기 생고 가사여나 가사 휴원나시 가사 된주리 인자 아니 가소래 다타 다베타 타르마르 와 다다르 와 녀석이 다다르 주위치로现在就把钱话多么多那样，马上几笔去太怎么说？
So then the commentary continues by saying, many other people say they hear the statement that one is not negating the person, one is negating the person as being real. They hear those correct statements, and then they think that, so they misunderstand what the implication of that statement is. And then in their meditative concentration, they establish a very concrete person, and then they establish that within their meditative concentration when they're developing this understanding of emptiness. Then they tire themselves out trying to negate a person, trying to negate the real existence of a person, which is merely an intellectual fabrication. And so that's extremely unacceptable because one ends up falling into the extreme of eternalism if one does it like that. So what this is entailing, meaning that if one establishes something like a phenomenal thing like a person within one's meditative equipoise on emptiness, then if that person appeared within a meditative equipoise which is cognizing emptiness, then that person would be established really established. And that would entail all of the huge, irreconcilable problems that we discussed yesterday.
Oh yeah, that thing
Although there's a lot more that needs to be said, out of fear of saying too much, this is all I'm going to say.
Oh yeah, that 대다 공배 따제지 공도 셰바기 다 사면 군접도 여조당 가서 다 라신지 동바 공배 라신지 동바 공배 따제게 타단 저베 남상 온도 주주 간데레서나 다 나베 동바 미고바 나와 군접도 예배 아니 라신지 동바 미고바 예나 아니 가서를 라신지 여고 대나 라신지 동바 좀 믿어 드려 많이 봐 그저도 예배 안에 동바 미가 동바 미주신 동바 잡아라 미주신 라신지 동나야 아니 타냐점도 아니 야 여바도 미고 봐 동바 나와 미고 봐 동바 나와 미고 봐 라신지 동바당 규제를 때는 중앙 아니 차샤를 때는 중앙 강인장 동당 땡중 퇴직비 아니 남산 대전 무슨 줄을 아니 동바 땡중 것도 샤와당 땡중 동배 텐트 샤와
So this then leads to the next verse, verse 45, where it says that appearance does not obscure emptiness, emptiness does not stop appearance. This is the actualization. When that occurs, then this excellent path, which understands emptiness and dependent origination in the same sense, has been actualized. And so what that means is that things appear as if they're intrinsically existent, and that appearance, although it is erroneous, that does not in any way obscure or obscure the emptiness of things.
미치진 다라신지 동바 인장 동네 양 땡데지 나와 미고바 라신지 동네 땡데 줘투바是吧 동바단 땡중 퇴직비 아니 남산 대세 아니 동바 땡중 퇴도 동바 퇴세나 아니 동바 땡중 퇴도 주도비 남대 웃음도 주그래 성도 주그래.
So thus here then when it says appearance does not obscure emptiness, that means that the fact that things appear, they're dependent originations, they arise, they engage, they operate within causal and other forms of functional relationship. Those being conventionally existent in that way, or phenomenally existent in that way, does not in any way obscure emptiness, the fact that they're devoid of intrinsic existence. And then on the other hand, the fact that they're empty, that they're completely devoid of any kind of intrinsic or autonomous character, that also does not stop these phenomenal things, conventionally existing things, from appearing. And when one brings together emptiness and dependent origination in the same, having the same intention, same sense, then at that time one has actualized this excellent path.
아니 루와메바 잡아장 대조대 잠바 아니 가서래 라신지 동바 좀 메뉴바 라신지 동바 조대 가나 아니 관대의 균대지 동바 좀 받다 좀 메뉴바 어디 나왔던데 루와메바다 동바 칼렌타위 고와니 치시 소소 나와 티시스토 아니 투유 공부 또 봐매.
So this is following the statement that is found in the omniscient Lord, and this is in the three principal aspects of the path, where he says that appearance, dependent origination, is incontrovertible, and emptiness, which is free, understanding emptiness, which is free from all positions. Here, positions means wrong views that ascribe some kind of property to emptiness or to dependent origination that they don't actually have, like ascribing some kind of autonomy to things. Then, when one understands those two,
엄마 캐넨테 고아니 시시 소소나와 테세도 안에 투유 공부 또 봐요 말에.
So as long as those two things, that is the incontrovertibility of things appearing as dependent originations, and that emptiness is free from all of these wrong views, mistaken assumptions. As long as those two things appear separately, then one still has not understood the intention of the sage.
Oh yeah, 다 남시 렌조 매바 지자도 땡데 미루 통화 담지네. 다 렌조 매바. 고와 중도 그 군대지 림바데 샤디 아니 라신지 담바 쇼 메두바 마임바. 라신지 담바 샤디 담바 아니 고와 중도 그 군대 그 림바데 좀 메두바 텐데 렌조 매바. 그러와 남시 림 지자도 땡데 미루 통화 담지네. 세가나 아니 가서래 땡진 대화 청와 땡진 대화 청와 아니 땡진 줄라 되는 대화 청와 코와 준도 그 군대 그 림바테다 밀루와 통화 잠니네 땡진 대화 청와 통화 잠니네 내시세와니 다도 좀 땡진 대체 그러와 내시 유지 진당 quy矩나 세가 아니 다도 좀 쯤바티 그 현유의 크밤 현유 증나
So the next verse then says, when without any alteration, without any alternation, these appear simultaneously. That is, that dependent origination is by simply seeing that dependent origination is incontrovertible. That means that here dependent origination refers to the arising dependent origination of samsara, as well as that which transcends samsara. Samsara arises from its specific causes and conditions. So that's within the first two of the four Arya realities or truths. And then the liberation arise and Buddhahood arise from the path. So that's those two dimensions of things: the samsara side as well as the path of purification and liberation. Those are all governed by dependent origination, in that they arise due to specific causes and conditions. So by simply, as soon as one sees that the incontrovertibility of dependent origination, that it's impossible to deny that dependent origination is what is governing both samsara and nirvana. By merely seeing that, that simple vision of the incontrovertibility of dependent origination, when one then completely destroys, completely eliminates and negates the way in which these objects appear to us under the power of this misapprehension of things as being real, then at that time one has completed one's investigation of the view.
Oh yeah, that is. 내가 님보 펜진도 개매반에 trocheba 딜레 와자 주와단 딜레 매도 중화 강시가라 두경어의 동바당 치당난 그我탐제 아라신지 주보랑 공어의 주베 동바당 두경어의 동바당 딜레 디제 중화이 세가나 아니 코완주비 주버체비 주대달라 때네 아니 제부 아니 코라 소와 데우테다 어디 이 줄에되는 데우 중에 두근 오에 또 받아 안딜에 디제 총아 이시가나 줄에되는 데우 주바 마르바 때 마르부구나 레사발라 때네 아니 코아 주바다 다면 것은 도비 탑체발진 다면 것은 도비 이시 권발에 단생을 저기 초와 탑에 대게 두근 오에 또 받아 딜에 디제 총아 이시我听这个军这个人把台当让新去当把年我的，俺技术对经商么多我当听着没人吧，肯没把你抄起吧去，我的了军这了带呢，当把了我长吃我当，当把三把三当把了三把了带呢，军这进拿下来我吃些的带呢。俺把就主是就上网去吧，一张，就跟我也当把单，对了，对这情况也，我你不判断的，肯没把你抄起吧？俺对了，我在话当，俺对了没得情况就往马来说，他对吧？别说呀，对跟是其他我那个，我对跟，
我通吧。So here, this is just also as what is said in the Praise of Dependent Origination by Gelug Mahamudra. Where it says that all of these things are devoid of essence, all inner and outer phenomena, all of the phenomena of samsara, the phenomena that transcend samsara, all of these are devoid of essence. And dikun
我也当把当，让先一出吧，让我也当把当，其他那个我问题嘞，俺呢这不中啊。
So then, nevertheless, from these things, that is from specific causes, specific effects arise. Those specific effects arise. So thus, seeing this in this way, when one understands causality, that is how effects arise from their specific causes, that necessarily entails that they're devoid of essence. If things had essence, then they couldn't exist in these causal relationships. There'd be no way for an effect to arise from its causes. It would exist in its own autonomous fashion. So understanding that this causality necessarily entails that things are devoid of essence, then when one understands that properly, then one understands then how dependent origination entails the emptiness of things, the lack of essence of things. And when those two things, that is recognition of dependent origination, when that recognition of dependent origination reinforces and actually increases the power of one's understanding of emptiness or the essencelessness of things, then they cooperate together. The dependent origination reinforces one's understanding of emptiness. One's understanding of emptiness reinforces one's understanding of dependent origination. So the two are cooperating with each other, assisting each other. And then Gelug Rinpoche says there's nothing more marvelous than that. There's nothing more astounding than that.
Oh yeah, that 대신 최놈 소도 주바 코로나라잖아. 대체는 손도 주발라잖아. 대신 뭐 탐제 또나양. 또니 달라라도 제가 줄을 세워 다지어 뭐 치다나 그뭐 탐제스라. 치다나 그뭐 탐제 라신지 또나양. 아 라신지 또비 아니 줄라때네. 아니 대우랍도 제와. 그렇게 대우랍도 제와 줄을 세. denpa nyi su yang rangshin me ji se kana ani kunzo denpa tang tendam denpa kanka wandu jende rangshin ji chuwa denpa nyi su yang rangshin me bi si denpa nyi kanya rangshin ji chuwa ma yuwa ma re si kunzo yin zang daba da cheba yang ma yin si rangshin ji chuwa ma yin ba ki ma chuwa yin da dakta ma lung rangshin ji ma zib zang 타냐 잠도 자와 제바 인장 아니 차달 홍아야 마이.
So this is likewise expressed in the introduction to the Middle Way, where Master Chandrakirti says, thus, although all, here the text reads phenomena, but if one does it, reads the text according to the auto commentary to the Madhyamaka Avatar, the introduction to the Middle Way, then one would read it as all things. Although all things are empty, they arise from emptiness. And because things don't possess any kind of essence in either of the two realities, these things are neither eternal nor are they annihilated. So what that means is that here within the two realities, meaning ultimate reality and phenomenal reality, things possess no kind of essence or intrinsic existence in either category of things, either phenomenally or ultimately. They don't possess any kind of intrinsic nature or essence, yet they arise from emptiness, it says there. And this entails then that all things are neither eternal. Here, the fact that they're empty means that they can't be eternal. There's no way that they could exist in that way because they're devoid of any kind of essence that would allow them to be eternal. And then the fact that they arise, as it says, arise from emptiness, means that they are also not annihilated. They're not completely non-existent because phenomenally they arise, conventionally they arise.
Oh yeah, that didn't. 공부를 지장 천원 동바 디셔널 규단 대부 태박항 뭐자왜 내장 등화자 매중화자 디매중 세가나다 라신지 동바 시에네 아니 라신지 동바이 나네 아니 규단 대부기 라신지 동당 아니 규단 대부기 나샤타메 규례되는 대부 중화 태박 대 따다지 진보 나신 전에 가서 지금 된데 발라서는 딜레 와자 주와다 딜레 매도 중화 가서와나 시디야 와자 레자 딩 와자 매중 레자 딩 매중.
So likewise, the protector Nagarjuna says as well that having understood that phenomena, the emptiness of phenomena, one who is able to nevertheless demonstrate the cause and effect, the causal character of things. There's nothing more marvelous, nothing more amazing than this, nothing that is more marvelous than this. So that's just exactly the same way as it was expressed by J. Rinpoche in the Praise to Dependent Origination. So when one understands the emptiness of things, here then that actually enables one to be able to demonstrate, to establish rationally and to demonstrate how it is that cause and effect work, causality operates. And Nagarjuna says that there's nothing more amazing or marvelous than that.
다 신내지 따라捐네 차진 장배세 다 신내 톱 차와지나 아니 도마 신내 주 아니 신내 좀니 가서 여기 공동에 따와 줘와다 따도는 고모 줘와서 이유와 어디 날짜니다 제가 신내지 따라捐네 아니 차자 전부 유지 차자 차진 장배 차진 동반이라 아니 땡라 파제 동반이라 미네 아니 돈이라 미비스 텐더위 돈이라 미비 시네티 다 가상아마 마시와 나신 전이 토마 동반 가서의 시네티 동반이라 미네 아니 신장기 대회 심바티잖아 데니 시네티 안에 아니 동반이라 미비 제도지 장비 旅行虽然给的外是新比定的人能拖把那这都几场比旅行新疆给的外能拖把那是安尼长东拖把希腊顺着拖把安尼天那呢拉姆个那呢安尼叫人吃拖把安尼推人把送过来
So here then the commentary continues. Thus, riding on the horse, mounted on the horse of shamatha, one maintains one's Mahamudra by observing emptiness. Here, the Mahamudra is the object aspect of Mahamudra, the emptiness as such. And by maintaining one's Mahamudra here, mounted on the horse of shamatha. This is referring then to someone who has, who we mentioned that there are two ways to develop the Mahamudra, one where one does it before one develops shamatha, and then the other way is after, based upon having first developed shamatha. This is referring to the latter way. And so through the force of one's analysis of emptiness, of the analysis of the appearing object, and with respect to its emptiness, then by means of that, when one develops, obtains the meditative concentration, which is governed by the bliss of bodily and physical flexibility or workability, then one has obtained the stage of heat within the path of preparation. This is referring to the attainment of here when when it develops shamatha, and then one has insight based upon shamatha, and the two are coordinated together, and then they're observing the objective form of Mahamudra, which is emptiness, and one achieves that level of the path of preparation.
Oh yeah, that Joram Tretovas. Then Dinita, Bashindo, and a Joram Zemo, and a Soba, and a Chanjo. Then any Tendra Vishila Sundatic, Tony Musum to Towa Tisana, and a Tonum to Servan.
So then, as one proceeds through the four stages of the path of preparation, one goes through the path of there's heat, like in the so one goes through the phases of the path of preparation. There's the phase of the heat, then there's forbearance, there's the highest world dharma, and then one achieves the path of seeing, at which point, during the path of preparation, one has been observing emptiness through the medium of a concept, a sort of image in the mind, but at the point of and as one proceeds through that, eventually that image disappears, or that concept disappears, and one gains a direct perception of emptiness, and that's the path of seeing.
Oh yeah, then you don't use to Towana Tonam Toche. That Tene, Cindy, Denita, or Panjat, and Casore, Mariba, Poya, Cotis, that Tilma, Panta Tintu Poya, the Tonam Net, and Kotu chair, and the Tonam Ginagasu, and the Tombang, Zibakunda Mahapang. Then I didn't it change it, and it's Satambone, Satubi Pakipang, Sakepapatu. Then it's a good Tabasumjugi, any sheet bande, Taran, any Gundaki, any Casore, CGTB when you said it, any Nabataji to be shit, Pejitabotovana, Numba the Sheets, but Pajada Chapong, Tatusungari.
So then once one has attained the path of seeing, one initially gets rid of the intellectually acquired mental afflictions, those which are the products of erroneous views produced through wrong kind of philosophy. Then one gets rid of the innate or the naturally existing forms of the mental afflictions as one proceeds through the various stages if one's following the bodhisattva path through the initial stages of the bodhisattva path, the second stage, and so forth. Then when one arrives at the 8th bodhisattva stage, one begins to, at the end of the 7th stage, one has eliminated all of the mental affliction, the obscurations which pertain to the mental afflictions. Then one goes through the 8th, 9th, and 10th stage, and during that gradually eliminates all of the obscurations which prevent omniscience. And then finally, at the end of that, one eliminates even the subtlest form of mental obscuration that prevents omniscience. And at that culmination of that, then one achieves omniscience.
Oh, yeah. That did it. That day, one day, God, you come on, Cassini, and you charge in Lamla, Nanju Shi, Namsha Zades. Charging a Lamdela, Nanju Shi, Namsha Zagres. Nanju, she can say, and that did so Shadela. Some Tejibaya, similar Teji to me, say Canada, me by similar Chinese, similar Teji to me by Teji. Annie, or Teji Patang, similar Teji to me by Teji Patangs. Sim Jera to Tobe, Annie, Jera to Tobe, Jera Tang, that Jera, Ninago Jera Sunguinari. Chiroki, Susona Vinina, Teneki Joa Sunguina, take Kawaja, some Jera to Tobe, Jera Tangs. Now what does some Roji by Namse Roji to Tobe, any Roji Batang. Now what does Roji to Tobe, any Roji Batang. Chamada Jevi, Sanjaji Gondo Meba, Gomete, Chamba say, Ani, Dinrugina Mebala Jana Inari, Yama, Susochi, Chamada Jet, Gondo Mebe, and you Gomete, she las.
So now, next is explained a way in which the path is presented by some of the earlier Kagyu masters. And they have made a presentation of the path of Mahamudra in terms of 4 yogas. The first of these is when one is observing the mind single-pointedly, then it's called single-pointed. The second is when one when one understands the mind free of mental elaboration. That's called free of elaboration. It's given that name. Here one can understand elaboration either as the elaborations of things as being real, or simply as the elaborations of objects existing exterior to the mind. Different ways of interpreting that term. La. You know. Ninangi Jura. Yeah. La. La. Sim Juda
Some Juda to Tobe, Juda, say, some Rashi to Jawatan Tawara Sugana, and it's China, Chiroki Susona, you Jawatan Tawara, Karizogina Tauko, some Juda to Tobe, Juda Tang.
So
now the Rochi to Tobe, Rochipa.
So yes, then when one understands the mind as being free of elaboration, that's given the name separate from elaboration. Here, the elaborations could be understood in different ways. One could take them as being the elaboration which misapprehends things as being real, or simply as the elaboration of things as external objects, or objects that are exterior to the mind. And then I'm not sure about that. Maybe one or the other. And then the third one is seeing the mind appearance and the mind, having understood the appearance in the mind as, here it says literally a single taste or homogeneous, mixed together such that they're blended in a homogeneous way. So that's given the name single taste. And then there's likewise the 4th stage of this is called meditating such as one is Tsenchegi gomdumepe.
아,
Tsenchegi gomdumepe.
천재세에 참마다 제가 공동에 봤을 거라 딘루기 니는 게 참마다 제도 공부하며 봐. 자야 직당 안에 수수 치료지 아니 나와다 제도 공동에 봐. 간사를 자셔 이제.
So the fourth one is called non-meditation. One could translate that, non-meditation. This means meditating without the signs of things, without any signs. Here, signs could be, again, interpreted in a couple of different ways. One, taking them as the signs of things as being established as real, or one could take it, again, as signs of objects as if they existed exterior to the mind. So there's that fourfold presentation.
Oh, yeah.
We'll stop there for now.
Ye dang guru rana mendra la kani ya